So the pros in the wild. Hi, David and Chaz. I too had a John Peck pros in the wild encounter. This happened about 20 years ago at a certain Baja Point Break. He rolled up driving a shitty old V-dub van and parked on the hill just above our camp. I knew who he was immediately, having had the displeasure of surfing with him at Trestles and church a few times. He sat in his van for a couple hours eating granola and contemplating his navel or whatever, giving us stink eye the whole time. Eventually, he suited up and walked by us on the way to paddle out. We gave him a friendly wave, and he just glowered at us, mumbling to himself. We let him have the session to himself and didn't even begin to make a move to go and didn't even make a move to go back out until he was headed in. He walked by my buddy, who was rinsing off the dishes in the tide pools, and accused him of stealing his wax off the rocks. The next day was bigger and better, and we were out there as soon as the tide had adequately dropped. As it gets bigger at this spot, the takeoff zone moves out around the point, and you have to try to negotiate a side wave wedge coming across the wave that's barreling in close proximity to a sheer rock cliff face. Well, John comes out and paddles right past us just to be deeper. Even though we had been out for a while and we knew the proper takeoff spot, he gets a wave right off and he's way too deep and gets blasted about 10 yards from the cliff face. I'm watching for him, fearing that he could have gotten injured, smacking into the rocks. He finally pops up and he's within touching distance of the cliff. I yell to him, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And that seemed to really piss him off. He screams a couple of unintelligible words at me. In the meantime, his board is bouncing off the rocks. He retrieves his now battered board and went straight in, packed up his shit, and left, much to our complete and utter stoke and happiness. My friends and I still get a good laugh when talking about Baja stories about the time that turd John Peck showed up. Work, Randy.
I'm
By the way, I'm the guy who wrote to you about having to deal with Chaz's burning up old Bronco in the Surfer Mag parking lot.
That
That was also a great story.
was a really good story. Yep, I can really am to this day thankful that I am not in jail for burning down Southern California. We don't get enough of these, and I thank what's the listener's name again?
Randy.
I thank Randy so much for this because all our pros in the wild thus far, I'll say 99% are positive experiences with pros in the wild. I love this straight up negative, haha, at a pro being a dip in the wild.
Well, first of all, what is it about people that are like the Zen? Like there's such a thin line. People that are pretending to be Zen or exuberantly happy, it's just a thin veneer between ire, rage underneath. You know what I mean? Like anybody who presents as Zen, you should be very suspect of.
Completely. Like, I mean, unless at least be suspect, approach with caution and observe. Like some people just are, right? But very
Yeah.
few, I think, are so just happy-go-lucky, in tune, whatever you want to say, where, bad stuff comes in and are able to just either laugh it off or roll with the punches or all of that kind of stuff. Like it's this kind of thing right here exactly, where it's the outwardly zen dude who runs into problems, and then all of that pent up, the stuff that he's been dealing with just explodes to the surface. Watch out.
And that was our last John Peck story too, was he came in hot and heavy at the listener. And then the listener, diffused it. And then John was cool as could be, and like
Yeah.
they had a great experience. But John was over the top mad. Um, I guess it is, if you really think about it, it's probably that the ire and the anger is kind of the default position. And so maybe the Zen or the exuberantly happy is trying to mitigate against the discomfort that they're feeling.
So watch out either way, though. Either this
Yeah.
person is deeply uncomfortable and putting on a mask of happy.
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
yeah, they're ready to explode.
Well, Randy wrote a PS. He said, I should really be showing Peck some grace. After all, he is a legendary pioneer in surfing, but I've surfed with many times with other legends like Mickey Munoz, Margot Oberg, Herbie. Pesman, Kevin Naughton, and all of them were a pleasure to share waves with. So,
Great, great
yeah.
little side note. Love it, Randy. Thank you.
This story also made me think about, when you're envisioning Peck taking off next to the cliff, getting barreled and getting exploded right up against the cliff, how many near misses happen in surfing? I have had hundreds of times where I've seen something in the lineup that I was certain was an actual connection, like somebody hitting a pier piling or two surfers hitting one another or a board hitting somebody in the face. And almost every single one of them, they come up and they're like completely fine.
Very rarely do you see blood in the lineup. Like
It's, but
somebody getting smashed and actually coming up and like just streaming blood.
but every single time almost you see something that looks like it would result in permanent damage.
Yeah, no, I saw some dude drop in on another dude and almost clip his head on the drop. I thought he did clip his head. I was like, oh, this is going to be like we're going to have to paddle this dude in. Both popped up. I think one had their board dinged and that was it.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's totally crazy how that happens in surfing. So,
not
anyways,
difficult.
yeah, good job, Peck, for not dying in
Yeah.
that moment.